Hi everyone, it's Killshot99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 7. It is time for some death predictions. We've gotten off a little bit easy so far this season, so it's time to shake it up a little bit, and I think the death action is going to be fast and furious. So I think it's going to get started this week. I think we're going to see a little bit of something, and then I think we're going to see some major shakeups. I'm going to give you a big death prediction. It's not going to be popular, but they never are. But I just got a feeling by the end of the season, something, or maybe even early next season. But I see a storyline starting to form, and I'm going to talk about that, but it's not going to be the first thing that we talk about. We've got a ton of people here tonight, so I appreciate everybody making just a little time for our nightly telecast. Appreciate everybody being here. Got Scott Kernan getting the Super Chats kicked off. That Super Chat party going on. Says, I predict one important character dead by 9/8. Scott, I'm right there with you. I think we're still anxiously awaiting the spoilers. So they'll be out tomorrow. And tonight's really our last night to get some good predictions in. And to see where our predictions sort of fall in line with some other stuff. We got Valar in the house. Says, hello, 99 Army, Kill Steph, Emmy, Kels, Sweet Tommy sponsors, patrons, and of course all the super chatters. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Corey. That's some excitement there. Appreciate your enthusiasm being here live. No, I'm good, Jennifer. I think just sometimes we come through on these broadcasts. It's either if it's cold or something. Maybe I just come across a little bit nasally. Not my typical sound, but what can I do? So let's get into it. Let's get into tonight's episode. You know what? Before we get too far into it, let me say this. And I mean this in all seriousness, because I don't know how many times I have to go back and apologize and talk about it. I think part of the problem is the world's just too damn sensitive right now about certain things. So, you know, last night when the whole RJ thing came out, I don't know if I said this 1,000 times about predictions and theories, and I put myself out there with anybody. We do them and we have fun. So when new people come to our channel that have not been here for 2 years and say, you know, you should watch how you criticize other channels, so on and so forth, they don't understand that there's some back and forth, that there's some jest in there. And I just think people got to stop being so sensitive with it, because, you know, there is a YouTube channel out there that gets videos up really quickly. No hate on the people that do that. It's just sometimes when you do that, you're drastically wrong because you don't have time to talk about it, discuss it. The things that we do predictions all week long. I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong. I'm just saying when you do that, you set yourself up for it. I've done it. I've set myself up for it. I've taken news and you know, the one we did with Soap Dirt a few weeks ago. It was, and I was careful. I said, look, this is not me saying it. This is Soap Dirt. But then if you put a prediction out there really quickly, like within an hour, and you don't bounce it off a few people, if it comes back really quickly, yeah, you get the shock value and people watch your stuff and they talk about it, but you need to set yourself up for scrutiny. So when I said sometimes when you're first, you're worst, it was a joke. It was a joke. People don't, you know, we get a couple new people that may watch several different channels and they're like, you know, you should focus on your stuff and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'll say whatever the hell I want to say. I mean, just chill. And stop taking everything so personally. People that are here every night, they get it. They know that we go back and forth. It's somebody that pops in here one time and they just take things out of context. All right. That's what's up. So I'm a little fired up tonight. Is that better? Do I still sound like I'm sick or getting a cold? I'm not. I'm pumped up tonight. What we got here? We got some super chats in the house. And that's why I appreciate each and every one of you that are here every day that know exactly where we're coming from. So whisper that like button. Thanks, Steve Smitherman, with super chatting that. Not only asking people to like the video, but giving a little bit of super chat incentive in order to do it. So thank you. And who else we got? We've got Rick Florence. Just want to say, told you Rick and Michonne would have a baby. Yeah, well, you're right. You're absolutely right. All right. And you know what else? And the last thing I'm going to say with this. The last thing I need is some stranger who's never been here coming over here telling us how to run our channel, because that ain't going to happen. This is the 999 Army. We know how we do it. We predict it. We put theories out there. We put a lot of wrong theories out there too. But if we do, then we answer for it. All right. Tonight is going to be hopefully a little bit more fun. Actually, these are always fun because they're very speculative, and we're always wrong about a couple of them. But we're usually right. And I have heard, I'm really back and forth with this, and you can tell the direction we're going to start with first, because there's Rosita. There's a muddied Rosita. A muddied, bloodied Rosita. So some things are a little bit different than the last time we saw her with the mud on her face and on her shoulders. So there's some stuff going down. And that look on her face it's very concerning to me. Randy says it's somebody else's blood. I don't know, Randy. It looks like she took a shot to the head. Her look is probably, it's a combination of, I just heard the walkers talking, and where's Eugene? Scott, I have not seen the new Walking Dead poster. But I will take your word, it's very revealing, and I will check it out. Well, you know one thing about Rosita. If this was a fair fight, there would be no panic. So she's definitely freaking out. So I got to ask, I'm going to throw it out there to the group. Is Rosita going to be the first shocking death that we see ramping up to the Whisper War? Once again, with your head, not with your heart. I know a lot of people don't want her to die, but is this the shock value that we really need? And everybody, I'm seeing some people saying she's safe. Well, Michael, I like her too, but I'm concerned. Well, Anna, the reason I don't think it's Eugene is because Eugene was talking to Aaron, I think it was Aaron, about the Whispers evolving. But to my knowledge, we haven't seen a follow-up scene with Rosita. So it appears to me that maybe Eugene makes it out, and I got a scenario. I'll get to that in 1 second. Amy Ferrer says Eugene was carrying a deer, looks bad for him. Well, we haven't seen that dialogue. So the dialogue is not going to be with the Whispers. So I think Eugene is safe for now. Is it possible that Rosita gave herself up to save Eugene? Now, doesn't mean she died. Is it possible that one of them talked to her? Maybe Rosita has the first verbal exchange with the Whisperer. Possibility? Let me see your thoughts. And is it possible Father G's gonna lose his second and only love interest? I'm just checking out a couple of comments here. Well, the question came up, why would they talk to her and not kill her? Well, perhaps they're looking for Lydia. I feel there's a good chance the Lydia storyline is going to play out. And this leads me to believe more. Eugene gets away. Rosita gets captured. Lydia runs into Daryl and Carol. And Rosita will potentially be the person that's traded. Right? Khaleesi says, never seen Rosita so freaked out. This is a tough look for her. She's very decisive. Well, we haven't got the official spoilers yet, and I think there's going to be a major death that's going to happen this week. Well, you know what would be really creepy? And here's the type of thing that could cause this look. All right. So first of all, it's bad enough that the dead are walking. Any of us would be freaked out. But I'm just saying that if any of us were in that world, in that environment, and for like 7, 8, well, probably 9 years at this point, right? For the whole Walking Dead. So for the last 9 years, all of us have seen the dead walking around. And then if you start hearing, where is she? Where are they? She's over here. No, she's over here. That's going to make you think you're crazy. So I got to think there's a little bit of like, she's got to be questioning her sanity a little bit with this picture. Sorry, I did the creepy whisperer voice again. I do it sometimes. So to get to a point where you accept that dead people can walk, but then you've never heard them talk, and you don't know, okay, it's probably not a stretch, because at one point when you saw dead people walking, you're like, there's no way this is possible. But then if they're evolving, like Eugene said, so it's clear that Eugene never has an interaction with the Whisperer, because Eugene is telling people the walkers are evolving. He heard them talking. So that means he didn't stick around to see who they really were. And the fact that Rosita and Eugene are separated would lead me to believe Rosita is indeed the person who is going to have the run-in with the Whisperers and see that they are human, in fact. Would you agree with that? Give me a quick yes or no. Just based on no spoilers, this is just what we're figuring out at this point. I feel pretty good about that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's logical. Could be wrong, but I'm just going strictly off of what I think a good story and how that would play out. And we've already got the coincidence factor. The fact that Carol's on the road to Hilltop, Michonne's on the road to Hilltop, Whispers are here, Whispers are there. I know it's convenient, but now that the convenience is going to play itself out, might as well find Lydia, right? And now, just so I clarify with the Army, don't want to go solo on this one. It's still technically possible, I guess. Rosita could run into Lydia but I think that's less likely. I feel like it's got to be the group that Henry is with. Well, Scott, that would, if we have confirmation of Rosita filming in the second half, then that would give more credibility to the fact that the trade does actually go down. That it's going to be Rosita for Lydia. But here's, and we'll get to a couple more of the death predictions in a minute. Here's the problem with the trade happening next episode. It's too soon. I think it's too soon for Henry and Lydia to have any type of bond, except if Henry just observes her being taken or forced. Then he may feel more inclined to do what's right as opposed to do it because he's attached to her. So Scott with Super Chat says, someone shoots a flare next episode. Rosita? Maybe. All right, so let me give you this as a storyline. I think that's a possibility. Could be Eugene. But here's why it could still be Rosita. If the trade doesn't happen, and if the trade is Rosita for Lydia, there's going to be some stuff that's going to go down between now and then. So perhaps Rosita shoots the flare, and then we've got Aaron, Jesus, maybe somebody else. That could still pave the way for Jesus to die in 8. That could be our introduction of Beta. While still setting up the trade-off. Because if a couple people die or a couple people are trapped, word will travel eventually, but it doesn't mean that it's not, events aren't still going to go down. Like, look, for example, we're going to have this fair. If this fair happens in 8, not everybody's going to be at the fair. I still think it's possible that Jesus goes looking for Rosita. Maybe he sees the flare and unfortunately runs into the wrong dude. Drama King, New York City, with a super chat says, Kills, do you think the good guy Negan will last once he feels Lucille in his hand again? He may want that power back. You know, Drama, it's a good question. I don't think he's going to want the power back, but I think he's going to need Lucille to get his fighting confidence back. And it's just going to be one of those reminders that the viewers are going to have to deal with. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen Lucille since the bashing. I mean, we saw Rick set Lucille on fire. I mean, it is symbolic of that, but it could also... I mean, do you want Negan out there fighting hand-to-hand? If he's got to protect Judith or if he's got to protect people, you're going to want him to have his best chance of winning. So, no, I don't think Lucille is going to make him want to lead or set up a brand new group because all his followers are pretty much dead. Negan's not going to fight to have people follow him. He's going to fight because he's going to start believing in something. Charles Thompson says, I think Tara's dead already. Charles, I think it's a possibility Tara or Enid. Christopher Saj says, prediction. Beta's primary weapons in comics are double-fisted weapons. Daryl's carrying the same. Beta to take them from Daryl. Epic showdown. At some point, Chris, I think it's really good. At some point, I do think there will be a showdown. And that might have been why they gave Daryl the weapons. They wanted to expand it a little bit and show that Daryl's not just ranged. I think that's a good call out. We could see that. Thank you for that. We've got RTD Slayer. I'm not really familiar with the comics, but how would the trade deal go down? Would they change it up in the show? Yeah, they certainly, RTD, they certainly could change it up. In the comics, it happened at Hilltop. Lydia was up there. Did it happen at Hilltop or Alexandria? In the comics, it was Alexandria, wasn't it? I'm not that far in the comics. I'm going to ask on my comic fans. It was Hilltop? Okay. All right, just want to make sure. Because Rick and Alpha had some face-to-face time, too. All right, we've got, Scott says Tara's in the new poster. Enid isn't. Hey, Rick was in the first poster and he's not around anymore. Don't let the posters fool you. The Walking Dead is about the legacy of The Walking Dead. So, yeah, they could certainly switch it up. Well, one nice thing I can tell you is by the time we get to episode 9, I'm going to be through about 20 episodes of comics. So I'm going to be right there. But there are... Look, I think we got some minor reveals. But let's kind of play this out a little bit. Lydia gets found. You know, here's this girl walking out in the middle of nowhere. You know, like Sadiq, right? They're concerned. Maybe they were heading up there anyway, and probably you're right. Enid could be the main medical personnel up at Hilltop. So they get Lydia back up to Hilltop probably midway through this episode. Then we still got to get through 8. And in order to get through 8, something major has to go down. Now, I thought it could be a trade-off. But I think it would make a little bit better story if Rosita's... We got you. We got you, Alexander. Yep, we know. We know the Carl Lydia storyline. I think it would make a better story if there's some... Keep this in mind. Most of the audience does not know the comics and does not know the spoilers. So when you think about this storyline, you got to think like, well, what's going to be shocking to most people, not to us. And they will change it a little bit from the comic just to kind of keep the comic book people on edge a little bit. So if you know nothing about the show, and Rosita's captured, you're going to be on pins and needles, right? You're going to be like, oh my God, what happened to Rosita? She got captured. Is she dead? Is she alive? Now, if you know the lore of the comic and there's a trade that happens, then you'll probably, and you know the spoilers, you're going to know she's filming later on. So all that's good data. But if we get to see her captured in 7 and we don't see her in 8, then there's a mystery about Rosita. And I'm cool with that. So that's not going to be the big finale in 8. That's not going to be, keeping people wondering for a couple of months. Likewise, now you got Lydia up at Hilltop, having some sidebars, eating some pudding with Henry. Henry has both eyes, so there will be no eye socket scene at Hilltop. But could there be, hey, we're the same age, getting to know each other, maybe a kiss, something. So, something that kind of, they hit it off. But I don't think that can happen in just one episode. So I think that's going to play out. Now you got the group that's already at the Hilltop, and you got Rosita captured. But then you've still got what's going down at the fair, where some of the Kingdom personnel may be, and you still got Michonne at Hilltop, and you still got the Negan storyline that still has to take place. So let me jump into these super chats, and I'm going to kind of walk through this a little bit. Sherry Bentley, I'm here but can't chat, working, good theories, Army. Kill so excited with the new start. Still no love for Negan, actions speak louder than words. I agree with you, but he's already putting forth some of the actions to start to lead to his redemption. And Drama King, correction. Enid is definitely in the poster. All right, so you guys are going to make me check out this poster. I'll check it out after the stream. And then we hope the poster has some relevance to who's going to be there for more than a few episodes. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm going to jump from A to Z. You guys ain't going to like it. But because the topic of Negan keeps coming up, I'm going to give you a long-term view. We got Z-Mist. Do you think Dwight's wife could be a Whisper? Yeah, I think that's possible. I don't think the Whispers existed when Sherry left. I only think the Whispers probably existed for a few years. I don't think they've been around 7 or 8 years. I think they started in a different group. They sort of migrated down. Could we see people that we've seen before? Absolutely. Could we see some of the people killed? Yeah, I think we could see either. I don't think we're going to see Sherry's head on a pike that is 7 years old. Sherry is not Alpha. That I can tell you. Totally different characters, Cat. Yeah, we had some buffering action there. I don't think it's needed. But I do think that, anything visual that would show the strength of the Whispers and show that it's just not this rogue group that came from nowhere. It would show, I guess, they're picking up steam, right? The leaders could be from one area, and then they get closer, and then they're just gradually building their numbers. Could we see a half-burnt savior at some point? Maybe. Maybe one of them survived it. Probably too soon for that, because they just got burnt like last episode. So Randy Walton says, does the Whisperer's first kill need to be a statement? The first kill that we see definitely needs to be a statement. But I am of the belief that, see, here's the way I think it's going to go down. I feel like the Whispers are a traveling group. And they've ran into people. And they've skinned some people. I'm not sure about the decapitation yet. To me, I always see the decapitation as a territorial marking. And if they've been moving for the last year or two and they haven't really made their stand and said, we're going to be right here for a little while, I don't know that there's a reason to mark their territory as much. So, are they moving along recruiting? Yes. Are they killing people and skinning some people? Yes. Are they putting heads on pikes? Well, if they're moving, maybe not. But I think once they decide, look, we got a pretty good area, and it just happens to be outside of Alexandria or it happens to be somewhere close, then I think you're not coming into our area, and we're going to mark it. See where these heads are on pikes? You don't go beyond this point. If you do, you become a head on a pike. That's kind of my feeling of the way it's going to go down. So, what I feel like is that the Whispers have moved into town. And I think they probably already killed. But I don't think we know that yet. So to kind of answer your question, does their first kill need to be a statement? Absolutely. But I do think we're going to find out after the fact that they've been up to no good all along. Well, Anna, I don't think it makes the same point. Because I think they want to make the point to humans. This could be you. This could be somebody you know. Don't trespass. Not only will you be killed, but you will be killed in a very brutal way. So, I'm going to give you guys just a crazy, crazy bold prediction. And when I do this, it's never popular. But before I do it, we have 400 people here. You guys know. You know what's coming. If you are a proud member of this 999 Army, if you like what we do every night, if you like the fact we get together and talk about The Walking Dead, theories, predictions, spoilers usually on Thursday, then hit that like button. Slap the like button. If you're brand new here, we'd like to have you come back. Not only hit the like button, but subscribe and hit the little bell. So when you hit the little bell, you get a warning message every time we do one of these streams. There we go. Now we're talking. Now we're making some numbers. That's how we roll. And if you're just tuning in and you go back and watch the playback, I was a little fired up at the beginning of this chat. But you know why. Okay. You know what? We're not too far off. Somebody actually typed it. So, this is not going to be popular. And it's probably a low probability of happening. But it would make for an interesting story. As we all know, Michonne has been very, very busy with movies, heavily recruited, and even recruited by other television shows. And to my knowledge, she has not signed a contract extension. And Negan would make an excellent father figure to Judith and RJ. Just saying. If Michonne decided to leave the show, I think they're planting the seeds early for Negan to take on that responsibility. And there's no way he would ever have bloodlust and a quest for power again. Not saying I would like it, not saying that it has to happen, but if she did decide to leave the show, I think they've set it up very well for Negan to be the one who would take over and take over that responsibility. Lisa, I don't think it has anything to do with paying her. I think she will make far more doing motion pictures and superhero movies than being on The Walking Dead. So if she were to decide to walk and it was time to pursue other things, just something to think about. Scott, she did say that Michonne's a huge part of her development, but you're leaving out one thing she also said. She also said when they asked if Michonne would be there past season 9, she said that's not her decision. So there's a business side of it. Le'Veon Bell was a big part of the Pittsburgh Steelers storyline too, and he walked away from it. Andrew Lincoln was a big part of the TV show. Let's not pretend that Andrew Lincoln didn't just leave. And if Andy can leave, anybody can leave. Yeah, I mean, it's a polarizing issue. I mean, nobody wants major characters to die. But if there was truly, look, Rosita, I can definitely see that happening. Jesus, I can see that happening. But Lauren just chose to walk. Andy just chose to walk. Let's not be naive and think that Denai is stuck at the hip to The Walking Dead. She has options. There's real life options. Whether we want her here, whether she wants to be here, it doesn't mean that she has to be here. I'm just giving you a scenario that I think when I start to see these relationships play out and some of the story play out, it looks to me as if they're preparing just in case. I mean, clearly they weren't prepared for Lauren. That's the most jacked up, open-ended, non-storytelling thing I've seen. Not criticizing. I'm a fan of the show. But let's be honest here. Scott says they planned Andrew Lincoln's exit in season 4. I heard 6, not 4. But you might be right. 1189 Paris says, Denai likes doing small things like writing, producing plays. I don't think money is the be-all with her. It's not. If she left, the show has nothing to do with how much they would pay her per episode. Rick Florence. Rick returns, his kids calling Negan, Dad Negan, I won. Well, he's learned humility, I think, to a degree, and raising kids and having that responsibility. It's like Sherry Bentley said a little bit ago, right? Actions speak louder than words. All right. Let's, right. Scott, I saw that as well. Scott with a super chat says Rick was originally going to die in 8. So what I saw is that they said they started talking about it 2 years earlier, which would have been 6. That he told them he wanted to leave in 2 years, in 8. And he decided to extend for a variety of reasons. They probably begged him. That would probably be the main reason. All right, so look, let's draw a parallel here to Maggie and Michonne. How many people are pleased with the way Maggie has supposedly left the show, or we don't know where she went, or we don't know where she's at? How many people like her ending? And how many people are just a little bit confused right now that they don't think that, even if they explain the backstory, that they don't think it did justice to the character? Nobody, right? So why did that happen? Don't give me the root cause. Don't give me they didn't pay her. I understand that part. But why did that happen? Because she's doing another TV show. No, let's get away from the money part. Because she's doing other things. Yes, okay, I guess if they would have paid her a whole boatload of money, yes, she probably wouldn't have looked elsewhere. But she did look elsewhere. So because she only signed a contract, the writers probably were not prepared to give her the proper exit. So we've got to sort of piece it along. She's busy doing other stuff. She's not under contract. They said, hey, look, we'll make it work. We got a storyline that's close enough to make it happen. She might come back. There's a possibility of her coming back. But the fact of the matter is, you guys are killing me with this poster. I just want to look at the poster. Drama King says, I'm wrong. It's Rosita, not Enid in the poster. Maybe I'll get a picture of the poster and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And actually put it up on the screen once we got a chance. Paris, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I totally agree. At this point, yes, Michonne's a better protagonist, but they wrote Maggie that way. They wrote Maggie as vengeful and not letting it go and sort of rallying against Rick a little bit. They put a little extra spice in there. But they could have turned it around. They could have ramped up her story. But, and let me clarify this again. This is slight criticism. Doesn't mean I'm hating The Walking Dead. I understand the difficulties that they went through. So this is probably as much as you'll hear me criticize it. But because of the situation, because Maggie started doing the Whiskey Cavalier and she's got opportunities elsewhere, it's not the type of ending that Walking Dead fans have become accustomed to. But a year ago, it's not what we would have expected. A year ago, we would not have expected Andy to leave. So now that we've seen Andy leave and we've seen Lauren leave, why do many of you think it's impossible for Denai to leave and take the character of Michonne with her? And why would you think that the writers would be any more prepared for that to happen when it's a contract situation and it's a real life situation? It's probably not a Walking Dead situation. Well, I mean, I know why. No, several people said it's impossible. I'm not saying you said it. I'm saying there are many people said there's no way it's going to happen because they believe it's not going to happen. And it's because they don't want it to happen. And I'm not saying I want it. I'm just giving you, there are things that could support that storyline. And one of those things that could support that storyline is the bond between Negan and Judith. That just in case that Denai wants to do movies full time and doesn't want to be fully tied to this role for the rest of her life, we've got this alt storyline. And I think you're going to see more alt storylines happening while we watch because they don't want to leave it the way of what happened with Maggie. I don't think they were prepared for that. They were probably more blindsided by the Maggie situation than the Rick situation. Because they wrote Rick a bigger exit. Maggie, more than likely, unless we see that extra episode she filmed, maybe she's got some scenes in this one, but more than likely we're going to hear about it third party from either Jesus or Enid. Yeah, it's been a while. We haven't seen Maggie. Yeah, remember the day she left? Sad day. Her and little Herschel just got in Georgie's little truck and they drove away. I mean, that's not the way they would have done it had they had the time to do it properly. And nobody wanted that. So, Denai's not under contract. It's time to start negotiating, right? We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. But I do think that would be, and that's why I wanted to kind of lay it out there in the open, because that would be well, let me ask this question. If Denai left this season, and if they killed her character, would it be the biggest death in the history of The Walking Dead? Leave your thoughts and comments to that. To this point, Dave says, since Glenn, I would argue it would be the biggest death in the history of the show. And, I'll give you guys, Carl, Orlando, Lori, no. Hell no. Lori's death, to me, was no more important than Spencer's. All right, so I'll give you maybe Carl. I still think if Michonne were to die at this point, everything that she's done, with the spotlight being on her. Look, if Daryl died, it would be the biggest in the history of the show. But I would say Michonne. But okay, I'll give you maybe Carl. But Carl's death was very poorly done. The intent was there. The impact on the group was there. But no, didn't even move me, not even a little bit. Carl's death had like zero emotional impact on me. Two episodes later, when people were still shaken by Carl's death, it had more of an emotional impact on me than actually seeing Carl's death. $11.89 Paris. Yes, she killed the governor, was a better mother and wife to Carl and Rick. Plus, she's the mother of Rick's child. I mean, it would be major. Yeah, but hey, Herschel's death was impactful, but Herschel was not a more important character than Michonne. And I don't think Carl was a more important character than Michonne on the TV show. Because of how early he died and because the lack of a real story. I mean, story's definitely a lot different on the TV show than the comic. I was actually more attached, and still am, as a matter of fact. I'm on episode 107, and I am much, much more attached to Carl in the comic than I was on the TV show, ever. And that was even when I was at the same point. When I was reading and I was like, okay, I'm caught up with everything, I still felt a better understanding of comic book Carl than I did TV show Carl. People that read the comics, would you agree with that? And let's just say up to All Out War. So, and I only point this out because I want you to know that I just don't think the Carl on the TV show was consistently well done. Look, there were moments, there were moving moments, there were, when he got shot and Rick went out there and just went beast mode on all the walkers. The impact, the pudding scene, I mean, there were things that were good about it. But last season, with the whole, picking strawberries with Negan and, helping out Sadiq, I didn't feel it. And I think that story took away from a lot of the excitement of the show. It was, they meant well, but it just didn't come across very well. Even up to his death. That I understand the death was supposed to change the direction of everybody, and it did, but it just seemed forced. But I will tell you, if something happened to Michonne this season, it would probably have more of an emotional impact on me than Carl. And that's kind of the way I look at biggest deaths, is the impact. I think if Jesus does die, and he is tortured a little bit, and he is kind of mocked, and Beta completely destroys him, even though the Jesus character on the TV show is not well done either, the way they portray the death and the impact, I think, would be a very big deal. Well, see, here's the problem. Is a lot of times we justify the exit and the death with this. This drives me nuts too. And I'm sorry if you're one of the people who said it a little bit earlier, then I'm not picking on you. But if you want the show to be organic and you want it to feel real, you can't say stuff like, okay, Michonne dies, who's going to take care of RJ? That's not organic. If Michonne walks out and she gets attacked by whispers and gets killed, there is no contingency plan for RJ. You figure it out. It's whoever, it's Daryl, it's Negan, it's whoever is going to care about him. You don't have to have a plan for that. Right, that's what I'm talking about, Amy. Mothers die, sadly. People step up. But if your only validation is Michonne can't die because, well, who's going to take care of RJ, you're looking too far into it. And if you want the show... Steven, come on, man. I've read your comments on the videos like the last 2 days. Just move on. Just move on from it. I'm not even going to get started with it tonight. But anyway, back to the point. Does this fall in Negan's lap? Just reading a couple comments here. Well, it could. It could fall in his lap, but for those, and like Drama King earlier said, what happens when Negan gets Lucille in his hands again? He's going to have that quest for power. Well, there's some major differences between now and then. One, got nobody to follow him. Number two, he's been in jail for 7 years. Number three, he's got some people looking up to him for maybe the right reasons. The RJs of the world, the Judiths of the world, they don't know. They probably know of the monster Negan was. They don't know him to be that. So just pay special attention to the alt storylines, because I think that the writers are going to have to be better prepared if they can't get some of these big-time negotiations done. Now, in fairness to most of the actors, they're going to plan their situation a little bit better. I'm not just blaming the actors, because I know it's a business, and sometimes they're going to feel slighted. I don't know what happened behind the scenes with the AMC folks and Lauren, but it could have been done better, and the people end up paying are the viewers, because we got to accept a little bit of a choppy storyline. And there's only so much that you can kind of piece in there. I think it worked this time. It just, it wasn't the best thing. If fans weren't so distracted with and excited that Rick lived through it, I think there would have been a lot more frustration around Maggie's exit. If that was just in the middle of nowhere, if we're just watching a show and nothing ever happened to Rick, and it's like, whoa, okay, that's stupid. But there was just so much adrenaline left over from the fact that we didn't lose Rick. I think and now we're filling that gap with another enemy like the Whispers. Poor Maggie. Yeah, we'll just kind of move on quickly. Well, Eric, Negan has a lot of fans. And I think there's a lot of people waiting to become Negan fans. That's what's so interesting about what's going on right now. Like, I know many of you, just from the comics, you just loved him, like, the whole time. Like, yeah, because you got to see the transition. And you already knew it was coming. But I do think there's still a lot of people that are in middle ground, and he's going to win some of those people over relatively quickly. It's like, you know, my comparison is, yeah, I guess, you know, they're kind of like golf clap. They're just sort of waiting. And then when something big happens, he saves somebody, then they're going to be like, yeah, Negan, he's, oh, I can't believe I just said that. Yeah, okay. And they're going to feel guilty about liking him, but then he's going to wear on people. Already started making an impact. I mean, that scene with Judith, she's keeping him in check. She's helping resurrect his character. Yeah, really good comments. So I am going to, look, we're at 61 minutes, so we are going to wind. That's right. Wrap it up. I love it, Commodore. So we are going to wind this thing down. We've hit 61 minutes. And fiery stream tonight. You had to know it was coming. We got out of the gates really, really hardcore. Appreciate all of you guys being here. We're going to talk a little bit of spoilers tomorrow if our friends at Spoiling Dead's fan page release them. I think we got some pretty good predictions. We got good stories. I think we're laying the groundwork. Obviously, a lot of stuff we talked about, we're not going to know everything that happens tomorrow, but we will see a little bit more of that map in order to get us there. So don't run out of here and type on somebody else's video that Kill said Michonne is going to die. I'm just saying that if we were, I think it would be the biggest death on the show. I think it would be very moving. I do think we're going to see some other deaths between now and then. We could see an Ezekiel. We could see a Jerry. We could see a Tara. We're more than likely going to see Jesus. We could see Rosita. Still a lot of people in play. But then also keep in mind there's the real-time, real-life instances that come out that change the direction of the show as well. Got a couple more last-minute super chatters coming in here. Scott Kernan says, Negan's time in the comic is over. Well, I've got about 50 episodes or so I got to catch up on. So in about 2 weeks, I'm going to have a little bit more time. I will do some of those readings here, and we're going to have to skip a lot of stuff. What episode do you think Jesus dies? I've heard 9. Some other people had said 8. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see some of it in 8, and that'll be a little bit of the kind of the cliffhanger, and then we'll officially see it in 9, what happens to him. Maybe he dies in 8, and we get to see the decapitation in 9. Who knows? But I initially heard it was 9. But we'll wait and see how that plays out. With that being said, somebody rated this stream a 10. I like that. So appreciate that. Appreciate your support. Once again, 500, 600, 700 people in the stream, probably 800 by the time we count all the numbers and do the recounts. If you guys do me a favor, if you had a good time tonight, hit that like button. I am going to start out, if you're watching the playback, this is the closing credits, so we're going to wind it down. But if you're still here, let's do some shout-outs and thank some people. I want to start out with the patrons up in the top left-hand corner. Thank you so much to that group of people up there. Support the channel month in and month out. You guys do an amazing job. Appreciate everything you do. Scott Kernan with another super chat says, all we know is that Daryl and Carol are survivors. You got that right. They are not going anywhere, well, because they also signed 3-year contracts. So they will be here for a while. But we don't know about the other people. So everybody's in play. Also in the top right-hand corner, we got the sponsors. So thank you to the sponsors. And the moderators always do a wonderful job. Emmy, Steph, Tommy, and Kels. And, of course, and one of our out front super chatters, Scott, is very active, very involved, very knowledgeable. So, Scott, thank you so much for your super chats tonight. Valar as well, Steve Smitherman. Rick Florence, Amy Ferrero, thank you. Drama King New York City, Charles Thompson, Sherry Bentley, couldn't stick around for the whole stream, but thank you for that. Mist, thank you so much, Mist, 1189 Paris. And several people, multiple super chats. Rick, Drama King, multiple super chats. Paris, Scott Kernan with a ton tonight. And Charles, yeah, thank you so much. You guys are, your comments, and they create, not only they contribute to the channel, but they also create a good conversation shift. And, you know, when we're looking for a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of fact, and some good opinions, those super chats are very timely. So thank you so much. Everybody still here is a strong member of the 999 Army. Appreciate everything that you guys do. So give me a whole lot of 999 so I can do some more shout outs as we wind this thing down. I want to start out with Bumblebee Brown. Thank you, Bumblebee. Julie McGuire, Christopher Sage. Also, we've got Jim G, Tammy Hill, Commodore Crawfish, Gamma, Joyce Andrews, Expert Hunter, Chris Riddle, Northside Queen, Ron Burgundy, Khaleesi, Ziglet, Sam B. Have a good night. Thank you. Shane Yutzy, Gina Crockett. Great stream as usual, Kills. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being here. Because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. Nerd Life, thank you. The Catnat. Kim Ames. Ooh, that's kind of gruesome, Kim. Hilda Pineda, thank you. John Lamoureux. Jonathan Jordan. Rubelo's channel, thank you. Mike Reiser. Angie Homan, Cheryl Lee, Michael Calcutt. Democrats, thank you so much. Robin Vance. Thank you, Chris Rainig. Rices, thank you. Raz Mataz. What's up, Raz? Thank you. RC. Colleen Hayes, thank you so much. Appreciate that. DDA Ohio, thank you. Have a great night. Madison Dickey, appreciate it. Samantha Coombs, Jessica Parcell. Walking Dead Nerds got her daughter typing. So shout out to one of my favorite nerds and also to the daughter of the nerd for doing the heavy lifting tonight. Thank you so much. Brandon Burns, appreciate it. Jimmy's jamming. What's up? Jimmy, thank you. Dr. Fleeman. Scott Kernan, super chatting. May I ask, what state do you live in? Was that directed at me or for the whole group here? I think it's going to be one of those, like anybody wants to chime in, like their location. Thank you, Raz. Appreciate that. And thank you for your long time. Feel free to chime in anytime. There you go. See, we got everybody. Those that know me know that I am definitely an Atlanta native. But I now reside in the Washington, D.C. area. So, both areas. But I am definitely, I'm more Atlanta than Rick Grimes. Yeah, it's a Michael, it's a real voice. We on the same team, Rick. Will you tell me? That's my. You know what? That's going down in infamy. That's the only Daryl Rick conversation I can have with myself. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the interaction, all the involvement. You guys are absolutely amazing. We will be here tomorrow night. If we have spoilers, we have spoilers. If we don't, then we will ramp up another topic. You guys have a great night. I will talk to you 9:30 tomorrow night. Peace.